Hi, this is Mrs. Robertson, and we are in my fourth period class today going over our study guide. The test is going to be next week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Make sure you have written test is on May 19th and 20th. If you need to finish it on the 21st will be available for you to finish the test. Make sure you have your name here. You are in fourth period, and your parents are aware that you have a test that will be taking place on Monday and Tuesday of next week. And this is the only test that we will allow this on, but you will be allowed to use your books, and I will allow you to use your study guide on this test. It's a rather long test. It's not easy, but this will help you on any of the things that you might need to know for the test. Any questions? Okay, the first question comes to us from Unit 8, Lesson 1. It says, Mrs. Bianchi planted a row garden with 2 rows of pole beans and 3 rows of cucumbers. Each row is 20 feet long. There is a 2-foot space between rows and around the edges. Pole beans must be planted 6 inches apart. Cucumbers must be planted 1 foot apart. It says sketch a diagram of the garden and label your diagram. Include measurements for the length and for each side of the garden. Okay, so here we have this garden. Well, I'll just draw a new one. So the rows are 20 inches long, okay? So we have 20, not 20 inches, 20 feet. So this is 20 feet. But then we have to add 2 feet on each edge. So we have 2 feet here and 2 feet here. So when you add 2 feet plus 20 feet plus the 2 feet, it gives you a total of 24 feet. So the dimension from here to here will be 24 feet. Now, the next thing says she's planting 2 rows of beans and 3 rows of cucumbers. Each row is 20 feet long, and there's 2 feet of space between the rows and around the edges. So I have to leave 2 feet, and then I plant a 20-foot row. Okay, so I'm just going to draw my row. Then I have 2 feet, and I plant another row, 20 foot. And so this is pole beans. I'm going to put PB for pole beans. Pole beans. And then I have 3 rows of cucumbers. 1, 2, and 3. These are our 3 rows of cucumbers. So I have 5 rows planted. I have 2 feet in between each row. And I need to have 2 feet to the edge of the garden. Okay, so here we have our 24 feet, 2 feet plus 20 feet plus 2 feet. That's 24 feet. Now, how tall, or how wide, I should say, is the garden going to be this way? How wide is the garden? Yes, Willa. It is 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So let's put 12 feet there. Now let's go back and see if we've answered everything that they needed in this question. Question A says, sketch a diagram of the garden. There's our garden. Label your diagram. Include measurements for the length of each side of the garden. So the main thing they wanted were the dimensions of the garden, and we've given them that. We don't need to tell them how many seeds are in a row for this particular problem, just the dimensions. Now let's go to letter B. Pole beans yield about 38 pounds per 25-foot row. Cucumbers yield about 30 pounds per 25-foot row. Our rows are only 20 feet. Determine the estimated total expected yield of Mrs. Bianchi's row garden. Use pictures, symbols, numbers, or words to explain or show how you solve the problem. This is the easiest way to do it. Okay, 20 is part of 25, so I'm going to write it as a ratio. 20 over 25. Okay, that will simplify, because 5 divides them both, to 4 fifths. So 20 25ths is 4 fifths. So our rows are only 20 feet long. So it's going to be 4 fifths of what it would be for, you're going to take 4 fifths times the yield of a 25-foot row. So a 25-foot row is 38. A 20-foot row, is it going to be more or less than 38 pounds? It's less. So you're going to take 4 fifths times 38 pounds. That's for the pole beans. So 4 fifths times 38, gently pick it up and put a 1 underneath it, will give you, and you can use a calculator too on this, 4 times 8, 32, carry a 3, 152 over 5. And when you divide that, 152 divided by 5 is 30.4. So that is about 30 pounds. So let's say this is going to be about 30 pounds per row. Okay, so how many rows do we have of pole beans? 2 of them. 30 pounds and 30 pounds. Now we have to figure out how many pounds our cucumber rows are. Again, it says for a 25-foot row, cucumbers yield 30 pounds. Well, we know our row is 20 feet. So 20 over 25, again, is 4 fifths. So you can take 4 fifths, and cucumbers weigh 30 pounds, times 30 over 1. That equals 120 over 5, which will equal 120 divided by 5, 24 pounds. Okay? Let's see, I believe that is right. 4 fifths. Yeah, 24 pounds. So we're going to have 24, 24, 24 pounds. All right, so let's answer the question. What's the expected yield? Well, let's add them all together. 30 plus 30 plus 24 plus 24 plus 24. You can use your calculator. Okay. And did you get about 132 pounds? Yep. It's going to equal 132 pounds. Now, pounds per square foot. All right, we have to figure out the area of our garden. Our garden is 12 feet by 24 feet. So we multiply 12 times 24, and when you multiply that, you get 288 feet squared. That's the area of your garden. Now we have to divide. We want to know pounds per foot. So that means pounds divided by feet. So you're going to have, I'll do it in a different color ink here so we don't get it confused. You're going to have 100, your pounds, 132, divided by your feet, 288. And when you do that, you'll get 0.458. Now, if I round that to the nearest tenth, it's going to be about a half a pound. 0.5 pounds per foot, or a half a pound per foot. That's how you would do question number 1A and B, and I'll answer the other questions that go along with it. Now let's go to the next question. This question should be an easy one for you because you'll be able to use a calculator on this question. To do this problem, we're dealing with the solar system and we want to change actual miles to a scale that we can use in inches. And we're going to divide it by 500,000. Okay? So, you're going to divide each one of these. So put a division symbol there so you know what do you do to get the answer? You're going to divide. And what are you going to divide it by? Your scale tells you. You're going to divide miles by 500. So to get the answer for this, you have 36,000 or 36,800,000 divided by 500,000. And it says to round to the nearest tenth is what we're going to do, I believe, here. We're going to just round it to the nearest tenth. So on this one, when you divide that, you're going to get 73.6, and that's going to be inches. Okay? In this one, when you divide it by 500,000, you're going to get 134.4 inches. Now go ahead and do the Earth. The answer for Earth is 186 inches. And this one, the numbers are too large, so you could use a calculator on your Chromebook for this, and you will get 283.2 inches for Mars. Any questions? All right. Now we're going to go to number 3. The nice thing in number, you might just write in this one, what did we do? Divide miles by 500,000 to get inches. Breaking it down there, okay? Make sure you have that written on your paper to help you to remember. Now we're going to go to question 3. In question 3 on the test, it will give you this formula. And it's capital W times capital D equals lowercase w times lowercase d. And here, the W stands for weight. And the D stands for distance, okay? So, we're going to replace these variables with amounts. 3 is considered a weight. X is the weight. The distance is how far the weight is from the fulcrum, or the middle point. On this one, the distance is 10. On this side, the distance is 5. Okay? So now we're going to use this information and write our equation. So W, capital W, is going to be 3 times 10 equals 5 times X. Okay? Does everyone have that? All right. 3 times 10 is 30. 30 equals 5 times x. Well, I know you all know the answer 6 because 5 times 6 is 30. But just to show you what to do, to undo multiplication, you divide, and you end up getting 6 equals x. So the answer is 6. Any questions on this? Very nice. Now let's go on to problem number 4. Number 4, use paper and pencil to solve the problem. And you get to use a calculator on this one. Use the populations and land area of the following states to complete the last column. Round your answers to the nearest tenth. Now that's important. To get your answer, you will need to round it. So, what do they want? Population density. So you're going to have population divided by land. So population divided by land will give you your answer. So right now, with your calculators, type in the first number, divide it by the second number, and round it to the tenths. So like on the first one, you'll get something like 1.07. But what will that be for your answer if you round it to the tenths? 1 point what? What will the 7 turn the 0 to? 1 1/10. So that would be 1 1/10 person per square mile. People per mile. All you have to do is just put your answer. You don't have to add a label of people per mile on this. Okay? Go ahead and do these right now. Here are the correct answers for number 4 rounded to the tenths place. So Texas, 93.6 people per mile. California is more dense, 227 6/10 people per mile. Montana has a lot of space, 6.7 people per mile. New Mexico, 16 9/10 people per mile. And Arizona has 56 1/10 people per mile. Now let's go to question number 5. In question number 5, I'm going to, because you'll need to see what I'm doing here, and it's a little hard to see at times. Okay, so on this problem here, it says, how wide is the original house? So I'm going to go to the axis because it's easier to count here. The house is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 8 units wide. Now it wants to do a number sentence here. This is distance, and we don't have negative numbers in distance. So these are negative numbers, and what we do is say the absolute value of -3 plus 5 equals 8. That's how we get the answer 8. How tall is the original house? And it gives you a hint. Find the distance from any point on the bottom of the house to the height of the peak of the roof. Okay, so I'm going to go from here to here. And this is 5. This is 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. So you have, those are negative numbers, but since it's a distance, we have the absolute value of -5 plus 4 equals 9. There's your number sentence supporting the answer 9. Are there any questions? Okay, now we're going to go to the next part here. It says record a new set of ordered pairs such that a new house will be half as tall and half as wide as the original house. Okay, so we're going to move all the points. Here we have -3, 1, and that one's going to be our base point. So it's going to start right there with the B. Okay, now B to A, it has to be half the distance. Well, that is 6. Half of 6 is 3. 1, 2, 3. So A is going to go right up here. And that's going to be -3, 2. -2, excuse me, -3, -2. All right, so that gives me that line. That's the left side. Now for point C, on that one, so from here to here, that is 3 plus 5 is 8. Half of 8 is 4. So we're going to go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, actually, let's just save C for a little bit later because it's a slanty point. Let's just do it in a little bit. Let's go straight to D. For D, half the distance between this is 8, and it's going to be 4. So we're going to go, it's going to be right here. You're going to go over 1, up 1. So D is 1, 1. Skip C and go to D. 1, 1. Okay? We'll go back to C at the end. Now, kids, you all know where E is going to end up being right where F is, isn't it? So there's the bottom of our house. And okay, so E is 1, -2. All right. Now let's go back to C. C is halfway between B and D. So that's a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to be right there. There is C. And it's going to be -1 up. It's about 2.5, halfway in between. So it's -1, 2.5. That one was just a little tricky to do. Okay, so now we have our peak of the house and the house. Now what we have to do is put in E and F, or the door, which is F, G, H, and I. Okay, so for the door, F is going to be, I'm just going to give these points to you, -1 and -0.5. G is going to be -1/4 and -1/2. H is going to be -1/4 and -2. And I, -1, -2. So let me put these points in the little shrunken house. F, -1, -0.5. G, -1/4, -0.5. H, -1/4, -2. And I, -1, -2. And that makes our little door. I'll just shade the little door in there. Okay, and there we have shrunk the house. Now we have to answer the questions about the shrunken house. Letter D. How wide is the smaller house? The smaller house is 1, 2, 3, 4. And even though they're negative numbers, the absolute value of -3 plus 1 equals 4. How tall is the smaller house? Well, it's -2. Plus 2.5. So that's 4.5. How did we get that? The absolute value of -2 plus 2.5 gives you the answer 4.5. Any questions? Make sure you have this all written down. Any questions? Okay, let's go on to the next page, number 6. We did this one a couple days ago. On the problem here, we need to shade a part of it. So we're going to shade, this is going to be our constant. Step 1, shade the part of the pattern that remains constant. So shade this part here. So all of them have 3 squares shaded in the same spot. Shade them quickly. So step 1, or 6A, we've taken care of it. Now, we have to do the table. In the table, record numeric expressions for the total of squares. Plan your numeric expressions to show the part that you shaded as constant and the other parts as varying. Well, to help us keep everything straight, I'm going to put a 3 in each one. That's my constant. Each one of these is a 3, has a 3 shaded. And plus, we're going to add other things to it, right? Now, did we add anything to this one here? No. So it's 3 plus 0. But in the next one, we have 3 plus 2, or 2 times 1. We've got 1 added on 2 sides. Put your little parenthesis. The next one is 3 plus 2 times 2. There are 4 added. 2 times 2 is 4. In the next one, you have 3 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 times 3. All right, any questions? In all of these, we have a 3 as our constant. Now let's write the answer to C. We've taken care of part B. We filled out the chart. Describe what is a constant and what varies. Constant, and we have to describe what varies. All right, what is constant? 3 green or 3 shaded squares. In mine, they happen to be green. 3 shaded squares was the constant. What varies? The number of unshaded squares. Any questions on that? What changes? Varies means change. The number of unshaded squares. What is constant? The number that is shaded. Now let's go to letter D. Write an algebraic expression for the number of squares in step N. Okay, we're just going to add another box down here on the bottom. And this is for N. So it's going to be 3 plus 2 times N. Okay, so let's just write what we have here. 3 plus 2n. 2 times n, you can just write it like this. That's another way to write it, okay? Now let's do the last part, E. Use your expression from part D to find the number of squares in the 50th step. Now you got to be careful. We know it's going to be 3 plus. Let's make another one here. If it's 50, 3 plus. Now it's not going to be 2 times 50 because is the first one a 1? No, it's going to be 3 times 50 minus 1. Because the first one didn't start it. It started with the 1 on the second one. So that's going to be 49. You'll have 3 plus 49, or 3 plus 2, 3, let me just rewrite that. That should be 3 plus 2 times 50 minus 1. We have to get a bracket going on that one, don't we? Yes. So 3 plus 2 times 49. So that'll be 3 plus 98. And what's 3 plus 98, kids? 101. All right. Now, and we said it's going to be 50 minus 2 times 50 minus 1. All right. Any questions on that? Again, your test, you will get to use this worksheet and your math books to do it. It will go into Mastery Connect. As far as Skyward, we're going to give you points. We're not sure how we're going to do our Skyward grades. It's not going to technically be a normal test because of the rigor of this one here. We're not sure how we're going to put that in. The teachers will have a meeting and discuss that. But you will be allowed to use some things to help you on this. All right, now let's go to number 7. This is a little disgusting. It's about a bullfrog. And then it gets disgusting when they want to talk about changing bullfrogs to people. But let's read it. I know, it is just a bullfrog that is a half a foot long. That's 6 inches, right? 6 inches. Can have a tongue that is 2 inches long in length. Okay, now bullfrogs can get bigger than 6 inches. How many of you seen a bullfrog? You've seen bullfrogs. They're really big. They're big frogs. Okay, this is a 6-inch long big bullfrog. All right, now it says, what is the ratio of the frog's length? So you're going to put the frog's length first to the length of its tongue. Well, just write down 6 to, how long is its tongue? 2. That's a ratio. I'm going to give you 6 answers that I can count right. You only have to give me one of them on your test. 6.2 is a ratio. 6/2 is a ratio. Or you can simplify your fraction. When you simplify it, 3/1, 3.1, or 3:1. These all say the same thing. Now, the reason I simplified it is because we're going to use the simplified equation when we get to part C. Now, let's do letter B. Let F represent the length of the frog and T represent its tongue length in the same units. Write an equation to represent the relationship between the frog's length and the length of its tongue. Well, the frog's length equals 3 times the tongue, okay? The frog's length equals 3 times the tongue. Any questions? Okay. 3 times 2 is 6. How long is the frog? 6 inches. That makes sense. Now we're going to use this. It says, if the same were true of people, what would be expected height? What would be the expected height of a person whose tongue measures 4 inches? Well, I'm going to use the height of the person using H for the height instead of F. Would equal 3 times the person's tongue is 4 inches. So 3 times 4 is 12. The person would be only 12 inches tall. If their tongue was 4 inches long, their tongue would be 12 inches or 1 foot. Disgusting. Now let's go to something better. Let's go to the next question. Our last question. On this question, this is what we were doing yesterday. This was Unit 8, Lesson 9. That's where this one came from, Unit 8, Lesson 9. Complete column E of the spreadsheet. Well, this is column E. They want us to figure out the answers for column E. You have a calculator. Kids, add the electric bill here. Add the rent together, put it here. Add the cell phone bill, put it there. Then add those together and put that answer there. So do that now. Now let's see. Hopefully you all have your electric bill equaling $115.10. Your rent is $3,045. Your cell phone bill, $375, and this is for 3 months. And your total bills that you paid for 3 months equals $4,175.05. Now we're going to talk about how do you write something in a spreadsheet or a formula. All right, kids, anytime they want you to write a formula, you're going to include the equal sign first. That tells the cell you're doing a formula. So, write a formula for E3. E3. That could be used to calculate the total amount spent on electricity. Okay, so E3 deals with the electricity. So we want a formula. You put an equal sign. Which cells do we use? We're going to use this cell, B3. Do we add or multiply? Do we add or multiply C3? Add. Plus C3 plus D3. Hey kids, let's focus. We're making a recording here. So that is the formula for A. Now let's go to B. Any questions on A? Now B says, oh no, a mistake was made in entering March's grocery bill. Groceries for March. This is the one we're looking at right here. It was actually $227.30. They reversed the 3 and the 7. Which cells will change? Now, kids, they're not going to make us change the answer. They just want to know which cells will we change. Well, we have to change that one, don't we? That one is D2. What other cell will change? If D2 changes, what's another one that changes? This one. What's that one? Tejas? E2 is going to change. And if E2 changes, what's the last one that's going to change? E6. The total is going to change. So with this one, if you have to change this, it changes that number and it'll change the total. So those are the 3 cells that will be changed. Now let's go to letter C. In letter C, it says write an efficient formula that can be used in E6 to calculate the grand total. Again, formula. We're going to put an equal sign down first. Here we go. Equal sign. Now, we're going to use E2. Do I add them or do I multiply them together on this side? Add E2 plus E3 plus E4 plus E5. And that will give you the answer to this problem. Now, make sure you don't lose this paper. Your test will be a Monday, Tuesday test. You can use this paper and you can also use your math journals to help you on the test. Are there any questions? All right. Make sure you study it over the weekend and have a good day.